Hi, I'm Dr. Jory Fleischer,
And I'm Sarah Mitchell-Chen.
and we wanted to welcome you to Rush Recaps. So if you are just joining us and this is the first video, this is a series of educational videos that we've created incorporating questions and concerns that we've heard from patients, families, and care partners. So this project is supported through generous grant from the Parkinson's Foundation. And with that, we are going to continue our line of questions about caregiving and caregiver support. So, Sarah, how do
Yes,
you find a caregiver? How do you pay for a caregiver? Please help us understand this.
this is a great question. So there's a few ways that you might go about finding a caregiver. There's programs through the state Department on Aging or Department of Rehabilitation Services that you may qualify for. There are income and asset thresholds for those programs, and you can contact your state Department on Aging or Department of Rehabilitation Services to learn more about those programs. There's also a series of programs through the VA. So if you're a veteran or your loved one is a veteran or you're the spouse of a veteran, you may want to explore those programs as well. And you can contact the VA Caregiver Support Program. They have a 1-800 number and you can learn more about those resources. Unfortunately, for the vast majority of our patients, they may not qualify for those programs. And so then we're looking at thinking about care that they're paying for privately out of pocket. And there's a couple different ways you might go about getting care, whether you're hiring a caregiver through an agency or you're paying a caregiver that you found directly through word of mouth or something, your community, something like that. And so generally, a caregiver can help with cooking, cleaning, housekeeping, self-care tasks, broadly sort of the day-to-day care that someone needs to remain in their home. There may be some limits if there are more medically complex care needs that an agency may say you need a certain level of care to provide this, meet this need. I'm thinking like if someone had a feeding tube or an IV medication, an agency is going to say like, you're going to need a licensed medical professional, like a nurse, to be able to administer that.
But in general, like if someone needed help administering medications and like giving someone their pills,
a caregiver could absolutely help with that. And there are ways that we can work around like finding medication set up, whether family is setting up the medication in a pill box or the agency has someone that's able to do that, or the pharmacy can set up their medication. There's ways to work around that, I guess is what I'm saying. But generally, caregivers are really going to be more focused on helping with self-care tasks. And there's different considerations. If you go through an agency, you're going to have the support of the office, the staff that's going to manage the staffing. If your caregiver goes on vacation, if they're sick, they're going to be able to then send someone to come to the house in their place so that you're not without a caregiver. They're also going to be there to help troubleshoot. They'll take care of like taxes and all of those HR aspects of having a caregiver. The trade-off is you're going to be paying a little bit more if you go through an agency because you're paying for that additional level of support. So then you might think about hiring a caregiver directly. And this may be then your neighbor had a caregiver and you really liked that caregiver, that person's available, and so you're going to pay them directly. You also may have a little more flexibility. Sometimes agencies say that you need to have this number of hours a day or have this number of hours a week in order to have care. A caregiver you hire directly or may have more flexibility around the hours or time of day or things like that. The trade-off might be, though, that you're going to have to figure out some of those HR components. And there's ways that online you can do a background check, or you can get additional, insurance to cover that liability. You may want to talk to an accountant or an attorney just to cover your bases on that. You also may have someone in your family or network that can help you take care of those things. But then it's also utilizing your social network, whether it's a faith community, neighbors, family, friends, things like that, that can help you identify a caregiver. There's also resources online where caregivers can post that they're looking for a position, or you can post that you're looking for care. And some of those websites will then allow you to do a background check and some of those aspects as well.
And I heard you mention background check twice. do you advise people to always do a background check? Like, what if like, you know, this person and they were the caregiver for, you know, your next door neighbor for 10 years?
I've been, then if you're feeling comfortable, fantastic. If it's someone that you're not as comfortable with, or you don't know as much about, or you haven't gotten that word of mouth kind of referral, then you may want to do a background check because it will help ease some of your discomfort of having a stranger come, what might be perceived as a stranger come into your home. It's more a matter of comfort. And so what will help you feel at ease to have the additional help come into the home? Because really that's ultimately the goal, is getting someone the help to allow them to stay in their home, to stay safe in their home, and to maybe ease a little bit of the care needs off of a care partner or additional family, so that then they can be a care partner, or the adult children can be the adult children and come and visit, versus kind of scanning the environment and thinking about all the things that need to get taken care of. So that's ultimately what we're thinking about. And it may take a little trial and error about comfort and what works, but thinking about starting care off gradually, so ahead of maybe a crisis, can be really helpful. Everyone will get more familiar to having the care in the house, versus a crisis where things are all kind of in turmoil and then we're adding another dynamic to that. That's not to say that that won't work. If you need the care, you need the care, and we want to help support you getting that care. These are just all things to consider.
Two very final wrap-up questions that are rapid fire but frequently asked questions are, so are you telling us that my medical insurance doesn't cover caregiving?
Oh, you're very fair questions. Unfortunately, Medicare and your consumer health insurance do not cover additional help in the home.
What if somehow I was forward thinking and lucky enough and I have long-term care insurance? Does that cover caregiving?
More power to you for planning, for thinking ahead. If you have long-term care insurance, you're going to want to double check with the policy. It may cover in-home care, and it may have some stipulations that are going to be written in your policy statement about how much care it will cover, what you need to do in order to be eligible for that care, and what that care might look like, whether it comes from an agency that they have vetted or they give you a lump sum. If you have long-term care, the best thing for you to do is take a look at that, pull the policy out and review it, and make a call to the policy holder. You're the policy holder. Make a call to the company, and they're going to be able to help answer questions for you.
And the last question is, I have heard the term hospice mentioned. I have some feelings around that term, but would hospice pay for a caregiver?
Feelings about hospice aside, hospice does not cover 24-hour care. There are many wonderful benefits to hospice that you may learn about in a future Rush Recap video. We're certainly going to touch on those, but a simple answer is no, hospice does not cover in-home care.
So thank you, Sarah.
Of course.
So thank you so much for joining us for this Rush Recap. Please stay tuned, check out some of the other videos and content that we have. And if you have questions that don't get covered here, please feel free to let your Rush Movement Disorders doc and provider know for future videos. So thanks so much.
Take care.